This is the T-post. Fast horses, real life, and oversharing like it's our job. That's Peyton.
And that's Jessie. Grab a drink and maybe a helmet. It's going to get bumpy.
Ended up selling Garnet, and then I ended up trading because I needed to buy a car and I couldn't afford board on 2 horses. I ended up trading, did Lindy, did a partial trade for Tipsy.
Tipsy.
Do you remember Tipsy? Tammy Martin had her for a while, the big sorrel
I don't
with
know.
the white. Okay, so Tipsy. Her registered name was literally Tipsy, not Smashed.
Oh, now that you say that, yeah, I recognize the name.
Yeah, so I had Tipsy, and I did a partial trade because I was like, Lindy's just not going to get any faster. And the girl was like, I just want a horse I can go run right now. And I was like, well, Lindy's not. She's probably not going to be 1D, 2D. And so we did a partial trade. I got Tipsy. Somewhere in there, I also got a horse named Buck from my friend Lauren's mom. His registered name was Twana Buck and Run.
Oh my gosh.
And he was literally on the top side. He was literally impressive. He was also a red dun, so I had 2 red duns for a little while, but one was light colored and one was dark colored. And on the bottom side, he was like EasyJet. So he was like Appendix as well, EasyJet and something else. But he didn't have any of like the issues, I guess, with that. And he went on to be a great horse. He's over in Peckham, Wisconsin now, and they've done everything with him, like everything you can imagine. He turned out to be an amazing horse. But he was awesome. He was really fun to start. Lauren and her mom and her stepdad kind of helped me start him, and literally the easiest thing ever. Like just big old puppy dog, willing to please. Only gelding that I ever had that like got along with long term. But then I had a coming 4-year-old and a coming 3-year-old, and I'm like, what am I gonna run this year? Because I'm not. I mean, Bucko probably could run, but I just think that he's not physically mature enough to like do as much as he wants.
Yeah.
Like he would try to. He would run his heart out for me. And so then I ended up trading. What did I have? Did I not have? I'm trying to remember. I had. Oh, before I can't even remember how this happened. Okay, yes. So I had the 2, and Tammy Martin was posting Brandy, which she called her Raven, a bay mare, grade bay mare, who probably came out of, we tracked it down, oh my gosh, what is it? Gold Medal Trailer Sales, Vandergeest used to have paint horses, and when the great grandpa or whatever died, they kind of just sold out. Actually went to a cattle sale because they just brought the last few babies with this cattle sale, and then like someone's dad bought her because she looked a lot like Gretchen, I think. Pomsel, I think is her name. Her dad bought her because she was like looked like a lot like a horse that he had or someone had that he really liked, and they had got her going, and then somehow Tammy acquired her, and she was like around 10 or 11 at this time, maybe 9, somewhere around there. And I saw her comment before I bought Tipsy, she actually really liked her, and then she was excited when I bought her or something like that. And then I saw her post Brandy, who was called Raven at the time, and Brandy was like 3D 4D, but just like solid, like whatever. And I had been talking to Lauren. I was like, I know she's great or whatever, but like she looks like she'd be fun to run, and I think there's some things I could try to improve to get her to be like a little bit faster, like 2D. And so I messaged Tammy. I was like, would you want to just do an even trade? Because the prices are like the same of what these horses are valued at right now. And so we did an even trade, and then we split the cost of fuel because I had Lauren hauled the horses back and forth for me, so we split the cost of fuel and then the transfer from my name to, I don't even know if I had transferred in mine. I don't think it did. I think I had transferred Tipsy's papers yet because I only had her 2 weeks.
Okay.
And she had Tipsy, and she had Tipsy for years, and I don't even know where she is now, but she had Tipsy for the longest time. And then I got Raven, which was her name. I named her Brandy, and I remember like her style was just like, I felt like she was really noodly. Like you'd pull her head and her hip just wouldn't like stay underneath herself. She would just kind of like kink around like a noodle. And I'm like, so I had 2 or 3 like really rough spring months with her where I was like I felt like I was re-breaking her out because she just didn't know how to use her body. And then all of a sudden she went from being 3D, 4D to like 1D, 2D locally. Like when Chisholm's had the smaller pattern before, she was running like 14.9s, 14.8s and stuff in there when it was smaller. I think at that time, like the ring record was like 13.9 or something. But I don't know, maybe it was 14. I don't know. But either way, she was like 1D, 2D. And I would take her, like she would just be won all the money at Bulls and Barrels. And like the thing that was cool with her is she'd make the same run even if it was in mud. She wouldn't slow down because she stood up so much. She was just really upright with her style. So I'd had her for a while, but then I got to the point where I felt like I was maxing her out, and somewhere in there I ended up selling. I also had some resale projects in there, but I'm not even going to get into those. Raz and Charlie Brown. Anyways, I ended up trading Buck for a horse that was named Hooker, and I was like, that will not do. And I named him Whiskey because then I had Whiskey and Brandy, which were actually 2 grade bay horses. But Whiskey came out of, I don't know, someone told me he was Frenchman's Guy bred, but I don't know. He came out of this mare that, oh my God, she went to the NFR. A sister, I don't know. Supposedly it was like a stud, really well-bred stud jumped the fence on a grade mare that was still a proven rodeo mare.
Okay.
Anyway, he was a freak. But he like would buck, and looking back now, the horse probably had major ulcers or minor kissing spine.
Oh.
You'd get on and your calves would barely touch his sides and he would jump. But when he'd run, bro, like still to this day, one of the craziest, fastest horses I've ever been on. But I ended up getting scared of him, and I kind of let people talk me out of him, and I ended up just selling him at an auction. And looking back now, I'm kind of mad. I'm kind of salty because, like, literally after the fact, people told me he probably had ulcers. And looking back now, I feel like those people didn't want to see me win because they saw how big of a freak he was and they knew I was naive. And these people were supposed to be my friends. Yeah. But I still was winning on Brandy at the time. So then I had Brandy and I didn't have Whiskey. I think I just had Brandy. I ended up buying Dinah. Then I found out I was pregnant. Then Dinah, I tried to my plan was to break her out over the winter. And that didn't work because every time, one, I was pregnant, 2, she would just blow up every time you'd saddle her and not stop. I'm like, something's wrong with this horse. Looking back now, she probably had major ulcers from hauling from North Dakota to Wisconsin, like way North Dakota, like almost to Canada and Montana over there, like way up.
West,
I think
northwest side.
Minot, I think is how you say it, North Dakota. I got her, which is a story in itself. Like, I saw her on Facebook, posted for $2,000, and she was a run cow cross. Her sire was Special Frenchman, which she's the last baby by Special Frenchman. Out of, her mom was a daughter of Daco Dynamite. So she was like Frenchman's Topaz, which is, I don't know, like not Frenchman's Guy, but Casey Lady Love is the sire for that. So they're related kind of to Frenchman's Guy. And then Special Effort was her grandsire. So a lot of run, a lot of cow. Daco Dynamite is like really, I don't know, one of the more, I guess I shouldn't say this. I've heard he's very popular in like the barrel racing. Like if you have a Docalina, he's one of the more popular crossovers for barrel racing. I don't know. I did 2 Docalinas and she was my first one and I loved them. Anyway, I got her, so I posted for $2,000. Literally went to the, I don't think I went to the bank yet. Then she dropped her to $1,000. Then I went to the bank and I was like, here. I had looked up a few of her siblings. They had won a bunch at 5 state futurities, like both full siblings and half siblings on both sides. I'm like, there's no reason why that this horse cannot resell in a couple years for at least like 10 grand.
Yeah.
And like as like prepping her to be a fraternity horse. I don't even have to do the fraternity, just like prep her for it. And I guess that's a really tough, I didn't know how tough it was at the time. I knew it was one of the bigger fraternities, but I guess it's really tough. So coming from someone I know that used to live out there. Anyways, I was like, I'm asking for a personal loan. Sharks. I'm asking for a personal loan for $2,000 that will cover me getting her here and her cost, like her $1,000 cost. They gave me the loan because they were like, you've done your research, like you have stats, like these horses have won way more than you're even paying for what she is.
Yeah.
I was gonna end up having to pay like $800 to get her hauled, but then something came up where there was like a horse got sick, and so there ended up being a hole, and the guy was literally gonna be within 20 or 30 minutes of Minot, and then he was going to Green Bay, so like we weren't really out of his way. So I got it for, I'm pretty sure it was $525.
Okay.
Was like what I paid for hauler. So I had like $1,500 into this horse. Then she's like blowing up all the time, which again I think was probably ulcers from the haul and stuff. And I ended up sending her out to Molly Van Open, who lives in Texas now. I'm pretty sure I was told that she broke out and started Playboy on the pattern and stuff.
Okay.
And like got him broke because he was really like wackadoo, like would spook at like stuff and whatever. And Molly is a hand. And I sent her to Molly for 2 months. My plan was, because I'd found out I was pregnant after I bought Dinah, and this was in end of 2016 when I bought her. So I was gonna have Charlie, my daughter, I had her June 20th, which I remember Dinah's birthday was June 19th. I'm like, oh my god, it'd be so funny if they were born on the same day. But now you and Dinah, I forgot, had the same birthday.
Yes, you do.
So, anyway, I decided that I would send her off to Molly, which I'm pretty sure they paid $400 a month.
That's insane.
Yeah. But this was back in 2017, and Molly had just started, like, I think training for the public more, and so like she was trying to get her name out there and whatever. So she had her up. She was training out of Western Connections up in Rhinelander or whatever. Really? I didn't know that. The Heliante?
Yeah.
Okay, well that's where Dinah was for training.
Crazy.
Yeah. And I sent her to Molly for 2 months, and my plan was I was hoping that it would be the last month of my pregnancy, and then another month after that, so that I had a month to kind of like get some confidence back riding and stuff again before I got on Dinah, because I saw her blow up and she was so athletic, it terrified me. It was like watching Ruby all over again, but with athleticism. And like Dinah could, like, if you get a horse's head, you turn them sideways, they usually can, like, they'll stop because they'll throw them off balance. She was so flexible. She would still do the same stuff with like her head. I was like, this is scary. I don't know how I'm going to stop this. And I told Molly, I was like, look, I love this horse, but something's wrong with her. And I said, either she's going to work or she's not. But I said, if she tries to kill you, tell me, because I'll still pay you for the 2 months of training, but I am going to advertise her as like to some cowboy who wants to just get on and get after. I don't have a lot of money in this horse. I have like $1,500 into her, 20, what is it? Another $800, $2,300 total, really, for like, other than like typical care and stuff. Yeah. That I'm not going to like lose that much. Even if someone wants her as a brood mare, I'm probably going to still come out even or ahead. But I said, I think something's wrong with her, because she'll just blow up and you can't get her to stop. You can't get her to use her brain. She just will stay in fight or flight. And I'm like, well, she'll be dripping with sweat and she'll still be going. Like, and a week or two later, Molly sends me a picture and she's like trotting on her with her head like between her legs. And I'm like, that's not my horse. And nope, Molly had her going, and she said no, like Molly loved her. Like to this day, she said she just, like, Dinah was one of her favorites because she was so athletic, but Molly could stick her. And I think because Molly had such a sticky seat and she thought it was funny, that Dinah was like, well, that's not working.
Yeah.
But it was every time she tried something new with Dinah, Dinah would blow up. So like the first time she asked her to, I don't know if it was trot, but the first time she asked her to lope, she blew up. The first time she asked her to ride outside faster than like a walk trot, she blew up. The first time she rode with other horses, she blew up. Like every new thing, she'd blow up, but she'd only do it once and then she was fine. So when I finally went to go pick her up, I told Molly, it's like, I'm like shaking nervous to get on this horse, even though like I've seen videos, I've come out and checked on her, like I'm scared. And I actually, I would kept telling myself to like not be on her face because I was so scared. I was like, didn't trust her to have my reins that loose. So Molly's like, just let her, she'll be okay. But yeah, so Molly got her really broke, where like she was really, like, she knew how to collect and just trot around real nice and whatever. And then I started working her, and I remember one of the first times I was riding her at home, we were in a huge outdoor arena where you literally could fit 2 standard size patterns in there. I'm not even kidding you. Where my ex's parents have their arena. We'll have to drive by there. We're going to do that today. We're going to drive by so I can show you how fucking big it is. It's 5 minutes away. It's huge. You could literally fit like 2 standard size patterns in there. I'm up in the top left corner, and Bobby's in the bottom right, and she's loping Cruz, which is a young horse. I mean, he had more ride time and more experience than Dinah, but he was still very young, and he would try to pull stuff on her every once in a while. And I'm riding Dinah up here, and I don't really remember if Cruz was doing it, but Dinah, every time she got to like the closest part of the circle where she'd be to him, she would like, they'd like bow out. And so Bobby's like, get after her, like, don't let her get away with that. And so I did. Well, Dinah just starts crow hopping down the arena. And I never freeze up. Like, that was the one thing Ruby taught me. Like, I was really good in these emergency situations. I could get a hold of things because I had to. And I just froze. And Bobby goes, Jessica, grab her face. So I grabbed the left side, and her head is cranked to my leg. Like, her nose was touching me. And she's still crawling down the arena. I was like, what do we do now? I was so scared because I saw what she could do, and I was like, I don't know what to do now. So I somehow I think I started kicking her or something because I don't know. I know Bobby was like yelling at me to get a hold of her. We laughed about it. I'm like, oh my God, I so thought of it. I wish that would have been on video. And so I finally got a hold of her and made her lope around, and like, but I remember I was like shaking in my boots, and that doesn't happen often to me where I get that scared where like I freeze, but I was so scared of her. And then she didn't buck again until one time I was riding her at Chisholm's. It was the following winter, so like 8 months later, and I did a rollback where they have the banners, and the dirt hit the banner, and she tucked and started bucking. But I wasn't scared of her at that point because I'd been riding her. She was like my main horse between. Well, I would ride Brandy a lot because I was running Brandy, but I took Dinah everywhere, and I would exhibition her everywhere. I took Brandy, so I would spend most of my early mornings at a barrel race riding Dinah around, getting her exposed because Brandy didn't need anything.
Yeah.
And then I'd run Brandy. She kind of turned out pretty cool.
I'd say.
Yeah. I mean, her 4-year-old year, I think her second barrel race that I ever ran her at was they had like a little slot race thing at Mondovi at Marissa's, and she won like the 2D. I still have the picture. And it was her first weekend camping away and being really in a stall that long, and she was amazing. Even though she hadn't been to overnights, Brandy was so chill that I seriously felt like Brandy, like, because she was like the best horse to haul, like hauled so well, ate good, drank good, and they were buddies. That Dinah was like, oh, it was like it took all of her natural anxiety that she would normally, because she was a ball of anxiety, it took it away.
Yeah.
So I mean, she'd get excited and anxious about some things, but like the things that like mattered, that would, I truly think that Brandy trained her for me. Like that's how I felt. But then it was really cool because I started hauling Hottie for a little while, and Dinah was now my Brandy.
Yeah.
But yeah, cool. So then I started, I mean, I did a few pro rodeos or whatever, like less than 10. I had my permit. I won a whopping $49 on my permit, which was actually at a race at Chisholm's. But she was there, and then just like life was lifing, and I ended up consigning her with Lisa Novak, and then she had a weird swelling on her leg, so I got her home. She needed to be reshot anyway. Then I just decided like I was gonna keep her because I paid Lisa for her training and stuff like that, but Lisa helped us find a bit that worked the best for my hands and Dinah, and that was like what we needed to go from like 1D, 2D, or like being in the 1D all the time and not necessarily being in the top of the 1D all the time. Because sometimes we'd be like right up the top, like top 3, and then we would be like in the middle, and that made us be like, we were like winning. And I only had gone to a few races, but we were like winning it by several tenths. And so I was like, well, that's pretty cool. I kind of skipped over the fact that I had bought a mare named MML6 Olina. I think I bought her, I want to say she was 11 or 12 when I bought her. Cute little bay mare. She was 6 foals, Docalina, and Mr. Sandpeppy or Peppy Sandbadger or something like that. And maybe something else. I can't really remember. But I remember I wanted just a resale project at the time. And they basically, she had been wrote off as a bucker. She had bucked a lot of people off. This one gal got her, and then she just like had life stuff going on and was cutting back on her project horses, and 6 had kind of sat anyway. And when I got her, because she had just sat, her feet had really bad abscesses, like literally looked like someone took a gun and like shot holes in her foot, because she had like huge holes in her feet just from like sitting and like just not doing anything. And I think just this gal was overwhelmed with what she had going on at the time, which is why she was selling projects. She also had really bad thrush that took me quite a while to get rid of. She had contracted heels, all kinds of fun stuff I had to figure out with her feet. She had a bucking issue, actually so bad that the girl who it was, I think, her mom's horse. And if you're listening to this, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe she is the advertising, like, marketing person for Hey Chicks. Had messaged me and literally was like, you're gonna get yourself killed on this horse, basically. Like, be really, really, really careful. Again, if you're listening to this and I'm not saying something right, feel free to correct me in the comments or shoot me a message and I can pop in and correct it in the video and edit it if need be. But yeah, I had her and the girl I bought her from were just like, really, like, Jesse, you need to be careful because this horse might actually kill you. I remember being around her, I'm like, she's so chill. I just don't see, I mean, I could see where she was testy, but I'm like, I just don't think that she's like that bad. So anyway, I took a few months and basically completely restarted her. We rehabbed her feet. I restarted her, acted like she had never been broke out ever in her life. Did all the desensitizing, all the things. I don't know if I said this, but I bought her for $800, so basically broodmare price. And anyway, I think within 4 months, she really wasn't, or 3 or 4 months, she really wasn't bucking. I had her cruising a good barrel pattern. She was in a smooth mouth, D-ring snaffle, and split reins, and just a cheap, like, buckle quick change headstall. And I took her to her first show, which was a Merrill Riders Club show, which is the same arena that they have the rodeo in. And they have a jackpot barrels usually with their fun show. I remember getting there. I don't remember if I even exhibitioned her. I feel like I got there late enough where I didn't have time to expo her. And I remember telling them that she hadn't bucked in like a month or so, or a couple months, whatever it was. But I was strapping my helmet on a little tighter because if she was gonna buck, this is like the first time she's ever been to a show, and it was a night show and there's kids running around and they'd run on the bleachers, and like there's a lot of things to get spooked at. Like, if you want to season a horse, take him to a Merrill Riders Club show because there's just all kinds of kids running around. The bleachers are loud, like, it's dark, and then you have lights, arena lights. It's really a great atmosphere to get your horse seasoned, which is the point of being there. And also, it's cheap. It's really cheap to go and just enter and get your horse exposed and whatever. So that was what I was there for. And I entered her and I went to run her for jackpot barrels. And I was the last one in the class because we got there so late that I ended up being last draw or whatever, because I'm pretty sure it's a sheet. You can just write where you want to be in the draw. And I just kind of cruised her to the first and she inhaled it. So I gave her a little bit more to the second and she inhaled that. And I gave her a little more to the third and she got a little bit by it, but she finished really, really strong and ended up winning the class by a second and a half, which, it's a fun show. It was the jackpot barrels at the fun show. However, the person who was a second and a half slower than me has for years consistently, with the horse that she was on, 2D, 3D at our MBHA jackpots. So in my head, I'm like, even if she was a little bit slower, I'm still looking at like a 2D at least run on this horse, and I was literally just cruising. And I'll pop in that video because to this day, I still feel like that was one of my favorite runs. Like, it just felt so nice. Everything just felt perfect. I felt really in tune with my horse. And it was literally her first show, and I was like, well, what is even happening?
Jessica Schmidt at 6 with a good clean run. Your new fast time to beat is 17.22, 17.122 will make Jessica.
And then we had some issues. Looking back now, I'm pretty sure she just had some more issues with her feet. I think we could get away with it at the Merrill show because the ground is so deep and cushiony that, it probably didn't, any pain she had was like not as prominent in that cushiony sand. because when I brought her to other places, I was having some issues with her, where I thought she was going to start bucking, but that actually wasn't the case. I think she was moving funny because her feet hurt. But the more you know. I ended up selling her, and she's in Illinois, last I heard, and is very loved and turned into like a roping horse, which she's built to be like a little breakaway horse. I sold her, and only because I was pregnant with my son at the time, and I had a 2-year-old daughter already, and I'm like, we don't have enough help with the kids. I don't know how I'm gonna keep 2 horses legged up. So I posted her and I posted Dinah, and whoever sold first went kind of situation, and she sold. So I loved Dinah, but sometimes I wish I would have kept 6 because I felt like she was more my natural style, like the way I want to ride, versus me and Dinah were like opposite ends of the spectrum trying to meet in the middle. But that's just how it goes. You live and learn. But yeah, she was super cool, and I remember running into them at a race in Elkhorn, Wisconsin. The ladies, I don't know if they're married now, but at the time I think they were like engaged. Fiance was riding her around, and he was spinning on her. And I was like, is that 6? And he goes, oh my gosh. So we start talking. He goes, I don't know if it was you or someone else, but whoever like put the buttons on this horse did a super good job, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, that was me, because she was barely, when I got on her, she was like barely like ranch broke. I don't know if at some point she was more broke, but she had been sitting for years, very hard in her mouth, whatever. And I remember once I started like putting buttons on her, I always thought it was really cool because she would actually kind of spin. And I always thought that was so fun because any of the horses I had previously just didn't have the natural talent to like be able to spin like that. And I was like, wow, she's kind of cool. So that was kind of cool. It's always nice to know the horses that you sell end up in really great homes, and all the work you put in, someone can appreciate and enjoy, and that horse now can go on and have some value. And I don't know. I like my resale projects. Okay, they're fun. But she didn't kill me, and she's very loved. So if you're listening to this and you used to own 6, just know she's, last I heard, very spoiled, rotten, and loved, and she turned into a really nice horse. So I kind of glazed over buying Prissy. VF Prissy Design is an own daughter of Designer Red out of a EasyJet Clabber Bar mare. Super cool, Victory Farms bred, chestnut Rabacano mare. And she looks a lot like Designer Red himself. I don't know if he was Rabacano or not, but as far as like Red, looks, build, all those things. Anyway, she was owned by my ex's sister, who bought her straight from Victory Farms as like a weanling or something like that. And her life, she had broke her out when she was young. She told me it was really easy. And then she moved and ended up having a family, and basically Prissy just sat. And one year we were down, they live in Kansas. They have cows and stuff down there for Easter, and we were staying, and she asked me if I wanted to ride Prissy around in her little like dry lot, and I was like, sure, I'll ride her. I know she hadn't been ridden for a while, but I guess I didn't know how long. Prissy was awesome. She wasn't very fancy broke, but like she wasn't super hard in her mouth. She wasn't like light as a feather, but she wasn't like, you didn't have to like manhandle her or anything. She knew turning and stopping and go, like basic. You could basic stuff, whatever. And I rode around, and then I had asked my ex's sister, I was like, can I ride her in this field over here? Which, I don't know, to me, from what I remember, seemed like it was like a freaking 50-acre field, but maybe it wasn't. It was huge. Flat field. I rode her all around. She pranced and snorted a little bit when we first were like going past the cows, because all these like yearling cows or 2-year-olds or whatever would come up and were like freaking out because I don't think they're used to seeing her out of her pasture. But she never acted on it. She would just get prancy and snort. And yeah, I like walked her all over. I trotted her, I loped her. I like took her over a creek, like all these things. I get back. The husband was like, I don't know anything. He's like a cow guy. I don't know anything about horses, but don't you think this horse should be doing something? Like, I just feel like she's special. And I was like, I mean, yeah, she like is the fact that she's just so willing. Like, she didn't try to buck me off, not a mean bone in her body. She was snorty, but I was like, I don't know, she seems pretty cool. I didn't know how she was bred at the time. And then come to find out after I get off, she hadn't been ridden in like over 2 years. And I think the last person to ride her was the husband, who's not even a horse guy. He has cows, and I think he just hopped on her for shits and giggles. And then I had asked my ex's sister, how is she bred? Because obviously I know she's Victory Farms bred, so she's got to be something good. And I look at her papers and I see what she is. And I'm like, do you not realize she's like a half sibling to Slick by Design? And at that time, he was still running at the NFR a bunch with Michelle. And I'm like, then I'm looking up designer red horses. And like, all these designer red horses are like freaking rodeo horses at some level. I'm like, this mare needs to be doing something. And at this point, I think she was already like 9 or 10. And basically, it took 2 years of me like convincing them to let me buy her, because every time I'd bring it up, I think the owner, my ex's sister, would kind of see the potential and want to do it herself, but then just didn't have time. So then we just kept doing this, like, oh, I'll sell her. Oh, I don't want to sell her now. I want to sell her. I don't want to. Finally got her home. I ended up having to do like a kidney cleanse or something on her. Her hair was all like weird, and took her to a repo vet, and yeah, I bred her, and that's when I got Hottie, my black mare. She's actually a bay. She was born bay, which I will insert pictures if I haven't already. And then she shed out black. I need a color tester too, because she has white hairs all over, but not her mane and tail. So I'm pretty sure she actually is the Bayron, which was the order I put in, was a Bayron filly. But she just doesn't present like a lot of the Bayrons that you would think of. But her dad is Just Fire, who's a gorgeous Bayron, owned by Kyle Cook, and what is his wife's name? I'm so sorry, I can't remember your name right now. But it's 7K Performance Horses, and Kyle and his wife are phenomenal to work with. They have a handful of really awesome studs now. And Just Fire's a Firewater Flint stud. And yeah, I love Hottie. She's awesome. I ended up breeding Prissy to a son of Straight Firewater as well, and got a Bay Tabiano colt, and I named him Moon, and I didn't end up selling him. He was the horse I was supposed to sell. I had bred Prissy back to Ain't Seen Nothing Yet. And when my life got crazy and I left my ex because things were not okay, she was a nervous Nelly. I think she lost some, like the stress of moving made her lose the baby. So that one still breaks my heart to this day, because I don't think that I could get a better cross personally than an Ain't Seen Nothing Yet and VF Prissy Design baby, in my opinion, only because all of her babies have been so trainable. Ended up having to sell her, and she went to some people in Oregon who spoiled her rotten, and ended up having the Ain't Seen Nothing Yet baby and the This Guy's a Keeper baby, which I had booked her back to. And actually, the Ain't Seen Nothing Yet is getting broke out right now, has a couple of rides on her. I just got some messages about it the other day, and easy peasy. I've heard nothing but good things about Moon. He was awesome. He had several different owners just because like life kept lifing, and he kind of got passed around. And I don't think you could tell he got passed around, because he's just so well mannered, and also had, I think, really good owners too that kept doing stuff with him. But yeah, Prissy really like passes down this like trainability. So at least I have Honey. Maybe down the road I'll get my Ain't Seen Nothing Yet, but that one still kind of breaks my heart to this day. So right now I'm actually working on buying Prissy back. We found out she has a genetic thing where she probably shouldn't be bred, and it was something you weren't required to test for or couldn't test for back when I was breeding her. And it's like 50-50 chance for the babies to get it. It's not like a huge issue, but like the person who has her now doesn't, she breeds and she doesn't want to risk like a 50-50 chance of these babies that are going to be put on the market. So she's like 22 or 23 now, and I'm trying to work on buying her back for my kiddos, because I could leave her sit and just hop on her and ride her, and I think she'd be an awesome, awesome horse for the kiddos. She's not very tall. She's like 14.1, maybe 14.2, and just chill as heck, which sounds crazy, but she was never rodeoed on or anything. I don't think she never went even to a barrel race. She doesn't even really know what barrels are. So, yeah, hopefully getting her back, because I did promise her that I would let her die with me and I would retire her. But we will see how life shakes out on that one. But then life was just lifing, and I just couldn't haul as much. Like, I just couldn't afford to haul as much, and I think that brought me into I think that brought us all the way into 2021, end of 2021, when my ex was buying a house. We were living together at the time, and then my life got crazy. That, when I ended up deciding that things were really bad there, accepting what I had been seeing. I ended up moving, and then I had to sell horses. So I ended up selling, because at this point I had acquired a broodmare who was an own daughter of Designer Red, which I regret to this day ever selling because I love her so much. Prissy. VF Prissy Design. I had her had a baby, which is my hottie horse now, who is by Just Fire. So that's a fun cross, because it's like Firewater Flint and then some like Mr. Sandpeppy or something like that. And then we have like EasyJet and Clabberbar and Designer Red on the bottom. And it's just a very fun cross. Crazy. That one scares me. That one doesn't scare me as much as Dinah, but that one does scare me.
Yeah.
And I haven't had a horse that scares me in a while, but I know it's a good amount of fear where it's like, it'll challenge me and it'll make me better, but it's weird to feel that again because I haven't had that for a while. And I was in like this depressed episode of like, my life's not going to get any better. I might as well buy another horse.
Oh, you mean Chewy?
Oh, that's what I meant. What did I say? 6?
You said 6.
Yeah, I meant 6. I meant they remind me a lot of each other,
Okay.
so that's probably why. Because they both were buckers and have very similar personalities. Anyway, so I see her. I asked the lady, I'm like, okay, you say she's cold back. Be straight with me. Can you get a hold of her when she bucks? Because I can handle one that you can get a hold of. But if she's going to be dirty, because I've had a few that I had in training, one specifically that I said maybe it was a buckskin. And then he was Sunfrost, double red Sunfrost, and I said I'm never gonna own a Sunfrost, and then here I am with a double red skin Sunfrost, because he would grab the bit, and he would just head between his legs like what you were telling me Mia does. He was doing that, and then I would stop him, no pressure on his face, and be petting him and calming him down. And he had threatened to like flip on me, like he went straight up and almost flipped over. And I told the lady, I said I rode him after that just so that we were ending on that note. But I said, you're gonna come home, I'll refund you anything or whatever. I said I don't deal with ones that want to flip. He was so pissed I wouldn't let him buck. I wasn't even on his face, anything, and he wanted to flip. So I asked her, I'm like, what is it here? And she's like, no, you can get a hold of her, but she's gonna buck. So I was like, okay. And she sent me pictures and some videos of her or whatever. She had gotten her, I think she had started trotting her through the barrels and was kind of teaching her how to collect, walk trot. And she didn't look bad. And it was like, well, do you think the lady will do 5? Because that's really all I have. And I wasn't even horse dropping. And so yeah, they did 5. And then I had a hauler. I think paid like $800 to hauler because she was from South Dakota. I can't remember where she was from in South Dakota now that I'm thinking of it. I don't remember, but yeah. So she had basically lived on a ranch and just kept bucking people off, basically. I don't know if she bucked people off, but just like was annoying with bucking. And just like wasn't working through it, and they just were like, we don't want to deal with it. So I got her, and I realized she didn't really have much of a top line, and I was like, well, if she sat, because the lady, Chelsea, had only had her in for a couple weeks, so I'm like, she just doesn't have muscle because she sat, but I'm going to really focus on like, we would trot through like the snow at a lunge. So she was basically like doing ground pulls because she had to lift her legs up so high and like lunging her doing that and like baiting her up and lunging her. And I was like, she just never really seemed, and I was doing belly lifts and stuff and stretches and never really gained much movement to her back at all, getting lifted up, and also never really gained much muscle. And every time I'd try to like go faster than a trot, like I could, even the first time trotting, she would like try to like she'd like plan her front end and try to start bucking. And then when I'd lope, that's what she would do. She would like just like kind of plan her front end and then just go into like this rocking horse like buck situation. And it would have been more if I wouldn't be like, I was literally, because she was one that you could pull her head around, but she was fighting you for it. Like she didn't want to give you her head. Like 6 would noodle her head right around. Chewy was not. And so after like 3 months of that, I actually had someone mention to me that she was getting her horse checked for kissing spine after surgery to make sure it was fine to clear to ride her. And she was like, I'm going to Iowa to do it because it's closer than South Dakota or North Dakota, wherever she had went for the surgery. Maybe you should have Chewy checked out, because the other thing was that Chewy is very chill, but then as soon as you put the saddle on, she was like a tweak. And I'm like, okay, that kind of makes sense. At least we can rule it out if nothing else. Because like you can't exactly rule out kissing spine unless you have an overhead x-ray as well. And at the university they did, so it wasn't just a side one. Although you could see hers from the side, sometimes you can't see it from the side, is what I was told. We go to Iowa, and I told the lady all the things. I was like, she just had like a general layman's exam and passed it with flying colors. A little bit of hock pain, but we also thought she was kind of fat and out of shape, so it was probably because she's just fat and out of shape and just needs to be in a little bit better shape. And so she had recommended before they even did anything, she's like, why don't you just get her more fit? And I'm like, I would go do all that, but I have been. That's where I'm like, red flags. And she's like, okay, well, if you want to, let's try. And she comes back to me, because I told her, I said, either I'm a hypochondriac, or this horse is an asshole, or she has really slight kissing spine.
Yeah.
And she had really slight kissing spine right where I sat. I think I might have inserted that in the last video, or the episode 1 of what her kissing spine was like. So then it was, I mean, that's a pretty big thing of like hand walking them and all that stuff. So luckily when I had moved, she had already progressed to riding. And she did get some time off, probably a couple weeks after I moved, because this life was just really crazy before I was riding her, but I had rehabbed her for 3 months up until that point. So then I have her, and so then I had, had to disperse basically. So I ended up selling the broodmare Prissy, and I sold Dinah to Justine. And then, I just have my 2 now, and I don't have a saddle, which my cousin messaged me. She listened to our first podcast, Gabby, Kayla's sister, and she goes, Jessie, you can borrow one of my saddles, right? So, but I have been riding Chewy bareback, and I ride her bareback all the time. She still will try me. But I mean, I can hop out her on the pasture now, and I will walk trot in certain areas with like either twine or even nothing on her. And I've been teaching her for like the past this summer, really. I hopped on her twice at Maple Ridge like that, just to see if she would do it, and she did. And Charlie and Colt were there, and they were like, what? How are you doing that? You don't have anything on her. I'm like, I don't know. Which I used to do with Garnet all the time, but I hadn't really attempted it with any other horses because I knew Dinah was not going to do it. Dinah was going to be like, bye. She would have just took off.
Freak, so
But Chewy, it's so funny because when I first got her home, I went to go pet her the next morning, and I went to had her teeth bared and her ears flat back, so I punched her in the nose. Because why? Like, it was like when you see wild horses fighting. I mean, I'm sure domestic horses do it, but I've never seen domesticated horses like get that big of a tiff typically.
Yeah.
But like when you see the wild stallions fighting in their mouth, like their teeth are bared and their ears are flat back, that's what she did to me. And I was like, nope. And so then I had to train her that she could not bite me. And then it was like every time I would work her, she would just she'd lift her leg up at me and like side eye me. And I remember I told her, I was like, if you kick me, you better effing kill me, because like if I get back up or I end up in the hospital, you're dead. But also I remember telling her vividly one day, I was like petting her when she was like, you could tell she liked having her mane brushed, but she didn't want to like having her mane brushed, so she'd go back and forth between like kind of relaxing and like side-eyeing me, like swishing her tail and acting irritated. She kept like going back and forth. I remember like loving on her and being like, one day after me forcing my love, we're gonna be best friends. And now we are best friends. She's still gonna try me though.
Oh yeah.
But she's double bred Sunfrost. Those horses are literally bred, and I think Driftwood too. They're like bred to go be ranch horses. And so like they're bred to be tough, but with that also comes stubbornness and a little bit of like attitude and grit. So I think it'll translate very well if I ever can get my finances together enough to start rodeoing again. But yeah, and then I've held her a little bit and ran her at a few races at Maple Ridge. Actually, I didn't even haul her. I rode with Bree, but and she was 2 to 40 at the first. I think she might have been 5 or 60 at the first show, because she wanted to run, but I wasn't letting her because I also didn't know it was the first show ever. She was gonna break in 2 on me or something, because I still didn't really trust her. But yeah, so I know she has it, and then Hottie is behind because my life's been so crazy, but also it's not been bad for her. Probably better for her that my life has been crazy because of how easy she was to train. Like I broke her out as a 2.5-year-old, put like 10 rides on, and then she basically sat.
Yeah.
So it's not like she was completely untrained, but and I think she's had maybe 40 rides now, and the most recent like 15 are bareback.
Yeah.
But she just physically matured so slowly that like mentally she would have been ready for more and physically couldn't have done it. So it almost would have been like dumb in a way. Like so I think by the time I get my finances in order, she'll be a 6-year-old colt. That's what she is. But yeah, so that's where I'm at now. And basically like asked you this, wow, was like goals for future, basically get back to rodeoing is the big thing. And I like going to jackpots, but honestly, to me, I treat a jackpot like it's a practice for rodeo. I don't know what it is. I'm not shitting on jackpots because they're fun, but like I know some people who just love the jackpot and some people who love the rodeo, and I just feel like my heart is with rodeo. Like there's just something about it that like it feels right.
Yeah.
But a lot of money goes into it. So, and when I'm restarting my life, 3 years into basically restarting my entire life, I'm just kind of at a point where I'm grateful that my horses are right over there.
Yeah.
You know, so and
Absolutely.
that's kind of where I'm at right now. So,
all right. Well, then I have some questions for you.
okay.
All right. So, first one is who has influenced you the most in your career with horses? So, we're like one person who's had like a big impact.
It's hard because been I've been able to work with several people like Tammy Kowalski, Pro Rodeos. She's been to circuit finals. Bobby Joe Bowman's rodeoed. I didn't really learn a bunch from Lisa Novak, but I've been in the same area and I've gotten guidance, no lessons, but guidance through her having Dinah and like just being around. And these people all have a lot of knowledge. But then besides them, honestly, I YouTube the crap out of everything.
Yeah.
I didn't know when I didn't have these people to help me or couldn't afford to pay them what they'd be worth to help me because I've been doing this on a budget if you can't tell. I horses on a budget, that's shouldn't be in the same sentence, but Fallon Taylor, honestly, it sounds kind of crazy, but she was, and then Sherry Servey had a few things online too, but back in the day, Fallon was like the only one that when I looked up barrel racing, like beginner stuff, she was there and she's breaking it down in a way that's palatable for a beginner. And truly, honestly, like that led into when she started just like her vlogs where she talked about inspirational stuff. And I, in less words than this, told her this when I met her. I was like, you have been one of my biggest inspirations because it like opened me up into like self-help, which is what I kind of was doing on my own, but I didn't realize there was like this whole, it like opened up a whole new world for me. And like all these things I had felt were like off and wrong, like things that people were doing or saying and like and would encourage me to do, and I just never felt right. And like, so Payne had asked me a few questions at the end of the recorded videos, and our mic, I should probably check, mic is on. Our mic transmitter died, and which it wasn't supposed to, because I'm pretty sure it had like several more hours according to the ad, but whatever. The mic transmitter had died and we didn't realize it yet, and so I only was able to answer one of her questions. So there's a couple more here that I will answer. Have you ever had a turning point moment in your horsemanship that completely changed how you ride or train? So I feel like my entire time riding, I was so much like a sponge where I just wanted to like get better. And I think when I started riding, I was riding English a lot. So there was a lot of focus on my riding, like my form, whatever. But I think once I got into barrel racing more, obviously there's a change in like form because you need to sit deeper versus like being upright. But when I started kind of learning how to get a horse collected, I think that was a turning point for me, because at that point I started learning better body control of a horse. At that point, I had done enough footwork where my horse really, whatever horse I was on, would like position themselves decent around a barrel. But I didn't really have like full body control of my horses. I could side pass them, I guess, and like I had a good enough control in a run, but I guess I learned what like more body control was. And once I could learn how to teach a horse to like collect up at a trot, I think like a switch flipped, and I turned into like, oh my gosh, like I can disengage a hind end, I can make them pivot on their forehand, or like pivot around or spin, like all these different things. And I won't claim to be someone who's like a reining trainer, but um I like being able to like get a horse's body under control. I don't know. That became really fun for me. And I also saw the improvements in my horses the better broke that I got them. So I guess that would be a turning point. Also, something super cool I learned in the process is like when you do all these things, you're engaging muscles that they are probably aren't engaging very much on their own, and so you're getting them stronger in areas, and that also makes them better in their run and keeps them more fit and all the things. So that was definitely a big turning point for me, and still to this day I'm constantly trying to learn um, how I can ride my horses better, how I can do it even softer, how I can whatever it might be. And I think that, not that I'm saying I'm someone that's super great or anything like that, but I think anyone who wants to do good will continuously want to learn, um, and not just be like, oh, I had a little a little success and I don't need to learn anymore. I'm always trying to learn. Do you have a pre-run ritual? Not really. I guess that was something I was starting to kind of get down a little bit more. I was really playing with a lot with Dinah, because that was, I mean, I was starting to dabble into going to pro rodeos and stuff, and it was the highest level that I had competed at consistently for a couple of years. And I was trying to figure out routine, but in that too, we also were dealing with some soreness issues. We had to swap farriers because we had a farrier that like kind of was causing issues in the angle of her feet. And so because of that, my ritual kept changing. And by the time I kind of got things down pat for her, my life got crazy and I ended up having to move, and then I ended up having to sell her. But what works for me, ideally, if it works for the horse, is a different story. Is I like not getting on until I kind of like have to, because I am an anxious person and I don't like that feeding over into my horse, because a lot of times it doesn't translate well. So if I can just get on like maybe 4 drags before I'm running and walk my horse around and lope him around, just make sure I have body control. I think that's my big thing, is I really try to make sure I have body control. And I noticed, and it's probably because I'm nervous and maybe my horse is too, a lot of the horses I've been on, they don't want to stop as good, like engage their hind end. So I actually will do a lot of like ask him to trot off and then ask him to really stop, to like off my seat, because that's what's telling them to engage their hip into the turn. Um, and I'm sure it's just me. I'm sure it's my body signals that it's making them like want to be more forward. But I just try to make sure that I have everything tuned in with me and my horse, where we feel like we're not lagging. I have their attention, they have my attention. We're just kind of in tuned. And every horse is going to do that differently. I do know that with myself, I don't like to really eat before a run, because that'll give me a stomach ache. I also, or drink like a ton of water. I also, if I can do it, like when I had my living quarters trailer, I really liked being able to like saddle my horse, have them ready with like the cinch just loose, and having them chilling at the trailer. And before I needed to get on and like put my boots on and like warm up or whatever, I would try to just either like get in my Bible or just like have some like quiet prayer time, because I am such an anxious person. And I think, and I'm probably going to get, when I start back up, I'm probably going to be getting into wow, I can't talk. When I start going again, I'm probably going to pick up where I left off in the sense of I was struggling with, I put so much pressure on wanting to do well. Not for me, because it's always about, I mean, yeah, cool, I did well. But for me, it's like, I think that these horses are so talented and I want to show their talent to people. And I would put so much pressure on myself that I almost would like sometimes implode and also then just not enjoy a run. Like I could have a run that actually was halfway decent, and I was like, all I could think of is all the things I messed up on. And so, and I think that's partially with like my anxiety. So I try to just like get myself like nice and zen, and like I pray. I try to pray that we just have a safe buildable run a lot of times, because ultimately, if I'm supposed to win, I feel like that was what God had planned for the day. But I'm thankful if we can come out of the arena safe and sound. And if there's something we can take away to build next time, that's also pretty cool. So, the next question and the last one is, what song would you want playing during a run at the NFR? I don't know. I feel like in my head, a lot of, well, two of my horses specifically had songs that I like correlated with them that I'm like, oh my gosh, that's just, it fits them, if that makes sense. I don't have one really for Chewy. Hottie's is Fire Burnin' by, I don't even know. I don't know who sings it. Chris Brown? I don't know. That's probably wrong. Dinah's was Dynamite by Teo Cruz or something. I don't really know, but the kids love to sing that one with me. Anything upbeat really, but usually that's like the fun part of rodeos is they're pretty good with their tunes when you're coming in. So I'm not really too picky on that, but who knows, that could change. But yeah, so that is all. This is the end of my story, my horse story as it is now. My goals going forward are to be able to get a truck and trailer again and start getting my horses to jackpots, and then eventually when I feel like they're ready, diving back into the rodeo world locally, the Great Lakes circuit. And then from there, obviously, I'd like to go farther. I think the goal down the road, which isn't everyone's goal, but I know it's a goal that is said often and maybe not taken seriously, I would love to try to run to get to the NFR at some point, and I know it takes a lot. I know that my life is not lined up to do that right now, but I also know there's a lot of things that happen years ahead of time to prep yourself for that. So, yeah, down the road, if that all lined up where I could make a run for it, I absolutely would try. And that is definitely a goal. But as of now, it's get a truck and trailer and get back to hauling to jackpots and getting my horses to a point where they can be consistent, and then we'll think about rodeoing and do things locally, and from there, really, I think the sky's the limit with anyone, as long as you're willing to learn and you're willing to put in the work, you're willing to listen to your horse and get them vetted. I really think the sky's the limit. And then also knowing that like some horses just don't have what it takes. And if that horse doesn't have what it takes and you can't afford to just have another horse, then selling the one that you have. I've done it a bunch of times. As you can tell with my story, I've had, I think, somewhere around 12 to 15 different personal horses on top of some short term kind of resale projects as well. And I've rode more horses than I can actually even think of and count, probably, taking lessons and just whatever, being around other people. So yeah, I think anyone can do really anything if they're willing to put in the work and do all the things. And yeah, that's all. So I hope you guys enjoyed. Thank you for listening. Again, if you are part of these stories or knew these horses and I misspoke, I do apologize. This is just off of my memory. And feel free to correct me in the comments or message me. I am more than happy to correct myself and pop it back in the video with a correction or put it in the notes or something. But yeah, that's where I came from and where I'm at and where I would like to go. And that's all. Oh, I didn't even go over this, but the reason I bought Prissy is because my whole plan was to like have a handful of cow run horses that were like not the same lineages, if that makes sense. Prove them, and then when I decide I don't want to really rodeo anymore, whatever, have them be like my brood mares. And then just like do that because I love the breeding process. I love it. I love babies. I love handling babies from the get-go. I feel like it's something I have a knack for. All of the babies I've always like handled from the get-go, they end up being in your pocket, kind, respectful, willing, just the most fun horses with the biggest personalities. And so I like want to be able to do that on these like really, really well-bred horses, and I'm starting to kind of get into those now. So or being able to have access to those, I should say. Yeah, so we will see what God has in store, but that is what I would like to do. And that is it for episode 2, part 3. That concludes all of our horse stories from where we started up until now and where we want to go. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and stay tuned next week for our next episode. Have a great week.